Hello everyone, welcome to this Odoo experience talk from website click to service kick, how to optimize the sales of your services via the website. So my name is Eloise, I'm a business analyst here at Odoo, and together we will analyze how companies selling services on a website can optimize their processes with Odoo, and specifically Odoo 19. So I will let you a few seconds, as always, to scan the QR code that is here. You can ask all your questions and we'll answer them at the end. Okay, I think scanning is okay. Anyway, the QR code will also be there at the end. To start this talk, I'd like to share a few key figures with you. Did you know that 70% of online shopping carts are abandoned before the purchase process? It means that when you're going on a website, 7 persons will not buy the service that they were looking for. And if by any chance the client still gets to buy something, well, the company providing the service will lose approximately 2 hours 30 per day in repetitive administrative tasks. It's huge. And that's actually what we want to avoid with Odoo. We want people to be efficient, and we want to help people do more in less time. What does it mean for the final customer, so the customer buying the service online? Well, for him, we want to offer better convenience. We want that he arrives on the website, he sees easily what are the different services that are offered to him. We also want him to be able to book that service fast in order to offer him a strong customer experience. And on the company side, so the company providing the service, well, what we aim to do with Odoo 19 is, of course, offer them a better planification. We aim to help them plan better the different services that they are going to provide to the customers. We also want to offer them a faster service delivery. All of this, of course, in order to improve their customer retention and make sure that the customer will come back. A demo is worth 1,000 words, so I will not talk for hours. Let's start the demo straight away, but I will present you the use case for today. This is Lena. Lena, she loves animals. She recently adopted a cat and a dog. I agree with you, they are super cute. But this is the house of Lena since she adopted those animals. It's a complete mess. And as you can see on her face, she's desperate. But good news for Lena, she recently heard about a cleaning service company that launched the possibility to book services online, which is called Wash It Up. Wash It Up, what do they offer? They offer, of course, the possibility to book cleaning services online. So let's go on the website of Wash It Up. Let's act as I am Lena, and let's see what Wash It Up can offer me. So here I am on the website of Wash It Up. Super beautiful website, as Fabien said, made with Odoo, of course. And Lena will directly go here into Discover Our Services. Okay, she has a choice between a half-day cleaning or a full-day cleaning. You may have seen the house of Lena. It's a mess. So she will opt for the full-day house cleaning, and she will book it. Here, I can book, and you see we are in the appointment, so she will book the appointment for a full day. She also sees the price, 175. It's okay. And she can now here select the date of the appointment. So she thinks that good date would be maybe on the 29th. She's home working on that day, so it's perfect for her. Let's book it, and see here we only have one available slot because it's a full day, so the only possibility is 9 a.m. Okay, let's select 9 a.m. I will here enter the data of Lena. It's a fake address, of course. And here, a phone number. Okay, I will proceed to payment. What is happening here, and you might think that this may be also she will have to connect. Indeed, this might seem a bit reluctant in the first place to have to connect, but the reason here is that we, of course, need to capture Lena's address to know where we should deliver that service, where we should go. So Lena will have to connect. So she will create an account. Okay, Lena Mess. And a password. Perfect, she will sign up, and here she can here directly choose to edit her address. So we will enter Lena's address. Phone, company name, we don't care, she's not a company. Here I will pick an address in Brussels. Okay, it's in Excel, not far from here. It's not my address. Belgium, perfect. And she can now confirm the service. Okay, so here she confirmed her address. She can now proceed to payment. For this demonstration, I configured the fact that I will request a full payment to Lena. So she will have to pay the entire amount. But note that you also have the possibility to request a partial payment or even no upfront payment at all. That is your call. So she pays now. Perfect. Her payment has been processed. She's the sale order number 32, yeah. And we can even go here in her, let's imagine that's her mailbox. And you will see that here, she actually receives by email the full appointment details. She even knows, who will come at her place. You see here, it's Samantha that has been assigned to the appointment, so it's Samantha that will come to her place and help her clean her house. Okay, so that was Lena's, Lena's task. Let's now go in our database and see what is the result of that booking online. So here I'm on my database. I will directly go into my field service application. And I will go here in All Task. Here I see that I have a new task. Great, a new customer. I analyze it. Okay, I see her name is Lena Mess. It seems to be a full day cleaning, because we have 7 hours assigned. I will directly move my task here into my address verification and planning. I will verify that I have Lena's address. Indeed, she filled in the address correctly. And I can even view the itinerary from my own location. So here we are in Ezel, and it's quite far. But I can launch that, I can view my itinerary and even launch it from here if I want to. Okay, what I can also do, I see it has been assigned to Samantha. Well, I could go here in the planning by user. You see that I have a planning by user, and I see all my different cleaners. And I see on the 29th, it has been assigned to Samantha. I also see that Samantha will have to work a lot this week. She also has to work on the 1st. She has 2 tasks on, 2 interventions, on the 2nd. And I see that John, he has nothing for this week. I will ask John to work a bit more. And so what I will do is that I will reassign my task. So this is the 29th task, and I will reassign it to John. So I just took my task, I moved it, and now I see the assignee has changed and it's now assigned to John. So I can easily manage here the planning of my different employees. Okay, well, now I will act as I were John. Okay, so I will here log out of my database, and I will connect as if I were John. Here so John is another user of the database. This is why I disconnected and I connected as John. And if John also goes into the field service, he sees all the tasks that are assigned to him. So he has a task today. He has a task on the 29th, and this is the one that interests us, is the one of Lena. So you have to imagine that we are the 29th of September. John wakes up, he checks what he has to do today, and he sees that he has to go at Lena's place. So he can here open the task. And also a great novelty from Odoo 19 is that you see here we have different views, and we have the map view. If we open the map view, John can easily see all the different tasks that are assigned to him. Here for the use case, John only has to go at one place for the day. But imagine having, for example, a business where you have different tasks to perform during the day. You can really arrange your trip the way you want. So this is super convenient, and you can even, as for the what I showed you, you can even see that in Google Maps and have your trip all made in Google Maps. Okay, so I go back to my task. John wakes up. He takes his car and he goes at Lena's place, so he can also put the task as ongoing. He will start a timer, and what is also great with Odoo 19 is that if John starts the timer, you see that we can follow where John is. So here we have an integration with Mapbox that allows us to track where John is, and I can even view his location on the map. Yeah, here we are in John is at Odoo Experience, unfortunately, but imagine that he's at Lena's place. Okay, so he arrives at Lena's place and he starts cleaning the house. He will do the living room, he will do the kitchen, and then he arrives in the bedroom and it smells really super, super bad. But John has an idea. He will propose to Lena to buy a specific odor neutralizing spray so her house can smell good again. So fortunately for her, Lena accepts, and directly from the field service task, John will be able to add an extra product. So here he will go in his car, take the odor neutralizing spray, and he will add it to the order. He can go back on his task. We see now that we have one product in our car, and he finishes the cleaning with this odor neutralizing spray. Okay, 7 hours after, the work is done. The house is now super clean. So what John will do, he will first stop the timer. He will register here his activity. Let's say 7 hours. Super hard cleaning. He logs his time. And what he will also be able to do at the end of the day, he will be able to fill in a worksheet. So for those who don't know, worksheet is basically a report of what he has done during the day. And this worksheet, you can configure it the way you want, and you can ask, you can configure it the way you want and ask the question that you want. So for example, here, John will have to describe what he did. Well, cleaning of 5 rooms, kitchen, living, bathroom, and 2 rooms. Do we have an extra comment? Yes, I had to use an odor neutralizing spray. Okay, and then John will sign directly here. Blah, blah, blah. Perfect, he signs. He goes back on his task. He sees that the worksheet is now complete. So he will then ask to Lena to, of course, sign the report. So here, he will click on sign the report, and that's what Lena will be able to see. We have to imagine that, for example, John has a tablet or something that he can present to Lena, and Lena will be able to see, well, the different products that she bought. So here, we see the products, we see the timesheet, and we also see the worksheet. Okay, Lena agrees, so she will sign here the report. Perfect. This signature is perfect, so she signs the report. Okay, we can now go back to the task. Lena has signed the report. The last thing that we now have to do, remember that we sold another neutralizing spray to Lena. Well, she will have to pay, of course, for that spray. So here, I also forgot we can send her even the reports. Sorry, before doing the sale order, we can here send the report so that Lena can have the report in her emails, and we have the beautiful PDF that is here. Okay, so we have sent the report, so now we can indeed go to our sale order. We arrive on the sale order. What do we see? We see the full day cleaning, and we see the extra odor neutralizing spray that we sold her. We will create the invoice. And here what is interesting is that you see on top we already have a payment transaction. Why? Because Lena already actually partially paid this invoice because she paid already online for the first service. So if I confirm, you see that the payment is now partial, and Lena actually owes me only $18, which is the amount of the spray, because the rest was already paid online. So I can send the invoice to Lena. Okay, so I have the invoice that appears here, and I see the mail that is sent here under. Okay, I can now finally go back to my field service task. So here I see the product, I see the worksheet that I have completed, I see the sale order and the invoice. What John will now have to do, he will mark this task as done. He can also put it here as done in the different steps, and you will see that when he marks this task as done, I have created a small automation in order that a mail will be sent to Lena to ask her a feedback about the work of John. So by just changing, let's say, the column here of my task, I have an automation that creates me this beautiful email, and I hope that Lena will answer positively, of course. So as you see, with Odoo 19, we have really an integration between three applications. If I go back here to my presentation, we have an integration with the website. So our flow started on the website, where Lena came and she booked an appointment. So we have an integration first between our website app and our appointment app. And by booking this appointment, I have configured the appointment in order to have a field service task created automatically at the booking of an appointment. And this is really the new feature from Odoo 19 is the fact that you can have this field service task automatically created. So you don't have anything to do. So we have an integration between those three applications: website, appointment, and field service. What you also have to know is that this demonstration, we've talked a lot about it this morning, but this demonstration I have built it only with the cleaning service industry. So it took me literally 10 minutes to build a full database for a cleaning service company. So if you want to find out more about it, don't hesitate to go on Odoo website, on odoo.com/industry. And in Hall 7, there are a lot of industry booths where you can go if you want to know more about it. Voilà, this was my demonstration. I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you very much for your attention, and I will be happy to answer all your questions now.
Thank you, Eloise, for this great presentation. Let's go for your questions. So I have a first question.
You are here on your database. If I go into appointments, here you see the backend. So here I go into action, edit. And so this is the configuration of my appointment. And you see that in options, you have upfront payment that is ticked with a product. So here the product is full day cleaning. If I open my product, what do I see? I see that this product creates a task in a project that is house cleaning project. And this project is a field service type project. So it means that the project, actually is that product that will be sold on my website via my appointment booking. And so it creates the task. I don't know if you follow me, but if not, you can come after and I will be happy to re-explain.
Is it possible to use field services without the client's signature?
Yes, of course. The signature is totally up to you to decide if you want to include that or not. Yeah, that's possible to do it without. Actually, you don't have to also fill in a worksheet. That's something that is optional.
And maybe the last question, when using field services in part of the word where there are no address, backward.
What?
A localization.
In Google Maps, I have no clue. It was not yours, okay. I have actually no idea, but I can just check after. And the person who has a question can come to me and we can check together if you want. But, I mean, yeah, in the question, I mean, in the contact form that the customer will have to fill in, you can add basically any question that you want. So the person could fill in like, maybe there is a possibility to put a pin, but not sure about it, to be honest, so we'll check after. That's it? Okay, and if you still have questions, don't hesitate. I will stick a bit around here or at the service booth in Hall 7. Thank you everyone, and bye.
Did you know that more than 50% of ERP implementation fail? Why? In many cases, because the investment does not match the return. Most of projects go off track due to delays, unclear priorities, or poorly set expectations. At Odoo, we know we have an amazing software, but we also know that's not enough. The key lies in how you implement it. Hello everyone, my name is Clara. I'm a business analyst in the Quick Start department at Odoo, and today I'd like to share with you the recipe for a successful implementation. We will discover together the different key principles of our methodology, and then we will see how it applies during the different steps of a project lifecycle. After that, we will have a small Q&A session, so please feel free to scan the QR code and write down your question. So, let's discover how our amazing project leader ended up with a 95% of successful implementation at Odoo. Let's start by redefining our mission as Odoo project leader, but as member of the Odoo community. Our mission is to bring real value to companies. We want to give them the best tool, and in a sentence, we want to help people achieve more in less time. What about our goal as project leader? Actually, we have one goal. We want to onboard the user on time and on budget. Actually, we even want, what does it mean? It means that we want to have our customer up and running on Odoo as quickly as possible, while both respecting the planning and the budget we agreed together. I said as quickly as possible because the velocity is a key element in our implementation. In fact, it helps us make sure we keep the involvement of our customer during the whole project, and a fast implementation also helps us to make sure the project stays a priority for them. So, let's see our key concept. The first one is keep things simple. I suppose you've heard a lot of that. By things, we mean two things. First, the communication should be simple, but also the solution that we deliver should stay simple. What about the communication? Our goal is to have an efficient, centralized, and fast communication during the whole project. For that, we use the principle of single point of contact. We want our customer to choose an ambassador that will be the point of contact in the project team, and on our side, the project leader will be the point of contact. Of course, you will have other people intervening during the project, like the developers or maybe an accountant or a specific user. We call them the key users, but the idea that every decision and every communication should involve the project leader and the ambassador. And we also want to keep like the least minimum people needed to make sure we stay fast and efficient. But not anyone in a company can be the right ambassador. In fact, the role of the ambassador is crucial for the success of the project. The ambassador should have a good knowledge of the business because he will explain the what the company needs and why they need it. So he should know the processes, the people, and the priorities and the challenge. The ambassador should also have a good decision power to ensure to stay efficient during the meeting and during the whole project to be able to take decisions rapidly. Of course, we want someone that has impact on the company because he will be in charge of leading the change. And we know a transition of ERP is not easy for everyone, so the change management is very important also. And we also need an ambassador that is available because transitioning to an ERP takes time and energy. What about our responsibilities as project leader? In fact, we will give the how. As project manager, Odoo expert, and transition expert, we will create the solution that answers the need and explain to the customer how we will implement it. We also are a long-term ally for the company, so our goal is to keep an eye on the long-term strategy for the company. I also wanted to remind you that the project is a big collaboration. We need both parties to make the project a success. Actually, we tend to say that's a 50-50 collaboration, but we need even more time on the side of the ambassador because it takes a lot of time to transition to an ERP. So I said the communication should be simple, but also the solution. As a project leader, we will challenge the customer all along the project to make sure everything we do has value for the project and value for the company. We want to make sure the ratio cost and return is always met. For that, we will focus on what we call the must-have, so what the company needs to be up and running like tomorrow on Odoo. What is the essential functionalities that you need to be able to run your business on Odoo. And everything else, we call it the nice to have. We try to keep it for a second phase of the implementation. Again, the idea is to go fast on Odoo and be efficient. By simple, we also say standard. Our goal is to have as standard as possible solution. Why? Because development will create added cost, generally added time, so delays on the project, and also added complexity. And I cannot count the customer that developed customized and complex solution that people will never use at the end because it's too complex. So try to be as simple and as standard as possible. Again, our goal is to deliver a simple solution that answers first the main need of the customer. A good way to make sure everything you do has value for the company is using the technique of, we say, 5 whys. In fact, it's just asking whys until you are completely sure that what the customer is asking is a must-have. Let's give you a typical example. The customer that wants to import 5 years of accounting data in the database. So my first question is really, why do you need those data in Odoo? And usually the customer answer, I need to be able to retrieve an invoice if a customer asks me like to reprint an invoice of last year or something like that. Okay, but why Odoo? Why in Odoo? Do you have the information somewhere else? Usually they do, in Excel file or a backup of the former software. And then I ask, how many times a year or how many times a month do you have customer asking you those data? And usually the answer is like less than a month. So maybe it takes you 3 minutes to go in another software, look for the information, answer the customer. If you have it maybe 10 times per year, you win 30 minutes a year. Is it worth spending hours and hours importing 5 years of data for 30 minutes a year? My answer is no. So it's not a must-have. We keep it until the end, and usually we never do it. So that was for our first concept, keep things simple. The second concept is phase the project. Instead of spending time creating a big and beautiful solution, we will cut the project in phases and deploy a phase whenever it's ready. Why? Because it helps us meet different objectives in our implementation. The first one is the velocity. We create rapid launch so we can keep a short-term agenda and have a high velocity in the project. Then, this short-term launch also gives concrete results to the user. So we keep the customer involvement during the project. And finally, a simple, small solution, we also help the user onboarding, and at each phase, the user training will be smoother and smoother, and the adoption also. So, we will cut the project in different phases that are usually flows, like the prospection from code to sale. And the idea is that we estimate the time on planning and the budget in terms of hours we need to launch that solution. I won't go deeper in that subject because my colleague Brice will talk about it just after the presentation, so please stay here if you are interested in the planning and budgeting. My only advice is to use deadlines. It's really important for the project because it gives a common short-term goal to the whole project team. Everything you do and all your organization is built on how we can meet the first deadline. So I hope it's clear for you now, our different concepts. Let's try to apply them during a project's life cycle. And for that, I will use the example of one of my former customers, Synergy. So that's a Belgian company selling and installing solar panels in Belgium. So you can see that every project goes to different steps. You have the kickoff, implementation by phase, go live, second deployment, and then we start over the implementation for phase 2, and so on and so on. So let's start with the kickoff. Every project starts with a kickoff. That's a very important moment in the project because it's the moment where you set the right foundation for the whole project. First, you will align on the methodology, so explain the same kind of thing I just did with you. Then, you can define stuff like who will be the ambassador, when do we meet, you name it. And after that, we will analyze the business flows and processes of the customer. At that moment, it's important for you to have a complete overview of the processes and the need and the challenge, not only the short-term needs. We want to have a full overview of the company and the processes to be able to define a long-term plan of the implementation and to make sure you use the resources and the hours completely in line with the priorities. And then it's also a good moment to engage the change, make sure the customer know what are the stakes of the project and what is needed from them. Let's go back to my company, Synergy. So they arrived at the office a few months ago. We had, for the kickoff meeting, they were super excited because they already tested Odoo a lot and they had so many questions about the software. And there were 5. We had the CEO, the accountant, the head of finance, a marketing officer, and an external consultant. Actually, they were super happy because of that new external consultant that will be the Odoo guy for the implementation, and that has plenty of time to dedicate to the implementation. During the kickoff, I explained the methodology, and I made them understand that the external consultant cannot be the ambassador. Why? Because he probably has not enough knowledge of the processes, as he is new, and the people also, but mostly because it has no decision powers. So during the project, we will have many back and forth between the consultant and the management, so we will lose velocity, and so it's a high risk for the project. Another example, during that kickoff, the customer wanted to implement accounting ASAP because of the new regulation of the e-invoicing in January. So they wanted to focus on accounting and start rapidly. But again, my goal was to understand the whole business so that I presented the planning. And then my customer was able to present the planning to his team and make sure we arrange the agenda to have the right people at the right moment during the implementation. So, the kickoff is really important. My advice is do not confuse speed with haste. Even if you have a really excited customer, take the time to do things right before you start implementing the project. And then we start with the implementation of phase 1. So as a project leader, we will create the solution, show it to the customer. The customer will have to test, so usually the ambassador, then the key users. We will receive feedback, and when the solution is ready, we will train the final user. One big challenge here is to continue to focus on the must-have, because you will probably have new requests during the implementation, and make sure everything you do has value and allow you to meet your deadlines and your first objectives. So for my customer, Synergy, we started the implementation of our first phase that was about prospection, and they wanted me to implement a really complex validation system. like the salesperson do the quotation, then he send it to her team leader, then then the accountant will validate it, and then finally the CEO will send all the quotation. So this, according to me, has no sense and was really complex for nothing. I think this is linked to the fact that they did everything with paper, so they just bring one paper to a table, then to another. So I challenged them and I convinced them to go live without those validation system. And spoiler alert, we never use it. We never implemented at the second deployment. Okay, so that's it for the implementation. When your solution is ready and everyone is ready to use, it's time to go live. So this means start using Odoo for real for the first phase. One thing is that everyone should be ready and prepared. The challenge here is obviously the change management. You always have users not wanting to change the software or finding excuses to still using the other software. So prepare people, set a specific date, and also be there to support them. If we take the example of my customer, Synergy, they called me a week before the go live, and they told me we will have to delay the go live because we have a big project coming, and everyone will be focused on that project. I don't think that's the right moment. I knew everyone was ready, the solution was ready. Even I knew that delaying the go live is not good for the project because people will forget what they learned. So I pushed them to go live, and I went on site to support them, and in fact everything was fine. So try to never delay a go live, and usually when you challenge a customer, you understand that it's always a matter of change management. And after the go live, we have what we call the second deployment. So the second deployment has several goals. The first one is just to receive the feedback and adapt the solution. Even if you train people and test it a lot, you will always have corner cases that you didn't think of during the go live. So at the moment when you treat those cases and adapt the solution. Then we can talk about the nice to have, see if they are always needed or not. Usually we can drop most of them. And we also use that moment to take a step back on the implementation, see how we can improve the solution, but also see how we can improve the collaboration. So we do what we call a progress report, and we check, okay, what we achieved, how much time did we spend, and what was well, and what can be improved. For example, for my customer Synergy, at the end of the implementation of the phase 1, we agreed on the fact that there were too many people during the meetings, so we had like internal discussion that slowed down the implementation. So we agreed together that we'll go back on project leader and ambassador on the meeting and the minimum needed key users. So that's an example for you. Then, when you finish with the second deployment of phase 1, you can start over and do the same for all other phases until the end of the project. It's important that you obtain a validation of the deployment of the phase before you go to the next one, otherwise you will lose the focus and have different topics in the same time on the project. So try to focus on one topic at a time. I hope everything is clear for you now. I can obviously talk of the methodology during hours. I have many examples, but we don't have the time. So there is the implementation methodology book here. Don't hesitate to take one in the halls. But to wrap up, our methodology is built on two main principles: keep things simple and phase the project. For us, the success of the project means onboard the user as quickly as possible, on time and on budget. But for that, you need your customer to understand their role, to dedicate the right time and the right people, and also to make the project a priority, just as we do. Also, focus on the long term. The short-term customer satisfaction is not a success of the project. Really think of the value you bring to the project over the time. And finally, my last advice would be think of the methodology as a guide, not a cage. use your common sense and adapt the situation to the customer and to the needs. Thank you.
Thank you for this nice presentation. Let's go for the question. We already have plenty ones. Given the diverse cultures, mentality, business process, market behavior, etc., in different countries and continents, I would like to know, as a new Odoo partner in another continent, if this exact methodology also applies there.
I think the base of the methodology, like the main concept, should be always kept, like focus on the velocity, on keep it simple. Of course, on the change management and on the communication, you should adapt to the customer you have in front of you. I know the fact of challenging the customer is quite difficult, independent of the culture, but sometimes you have people not ready to be challenged on their need. And for that, I think it's just a matter of setting the right expectation at the really beginning of the project.
Thank you. How much effort do you put on sales phase about the implementation methodology, or is the kickoff the first time they hear about it? Is the kickoff the right moment to set expectation, or should it be done during the sale in order to avoid misinterpretation or expectations?
That's a good question. So yes, our salespeople are trained on the methodology, and we have tools, like we send a PDF with the key principle of the methodology during the sales phase. Also, we explain that the customer will be challenged, that we will need time on their side, that we will need an ambassador, so they know in what they dive. But as you have a transition between the salesperson and the project leader when you start the project, it's important to re-clarify everything and go even deeper in the methodology at that moment. But yeah, it's important to talk about it during the sales process.
For each phase of an implementation project, are you doing the whole process again?
Yeah, actually, but usually by the phases, the implementation go faster because the user and the ambassador have better competencies on the software and understand the software better and become more autonomous. So sometimes you don't really go until the end because the customer feels easy to take over the implementation and start training the user and configuring the solution.
And when do you recommend to train the user?
When the solution is ready, because when you train people on a solution that is not ready, it's really bad for change management. Like you lose half of the users.
How do you handle strong resistance from middle management?
I would say with communication.
Always?
Always, yes. It's always important to know who decided to buy Odoo or to transition on an ERP and why. And that's important to make sure everyone is aligned on why we do that. I would say, of course, communication, and also imply the salespeople in the communication, because they were there at the really beginning of the project. Sometimes they have different people during the sales process, so align and communicate with everyone.
And why doing 2 deployments and not doing 1 module at a time? Continuous iteration, bringing each time to the platform, what at a time?
Can you repeat?
Yes, of course. Why doing 2 deployments and not doing 1 model at a time? Maybe first question.
Okay, so we're not doing 1 module at a time because we try to work by flow. If I show you here the example of the planning, the idea is to cut the project in a flow that makes sense. So, for example, it has no sense to use CRM, but keep the quotation somewhere. It depends on the customer needs, of course. So we try to go by flow. Sometimes we try also to cut it by user. For example, we know this department will do that, so we can launch this department, and we know another department will still working on another software. So it's not by module. And why 2 deployments? That's a way to also to please the customer, to tell them, okay, this is not needed. We will keep it keep it to the end, and we'll see if it is necessary or not, the second deployment. In a lot of cases, at that moment, they are finally convinced that it's not necessary anymore. But sometimes it is, but it's also a way to go faster in the project.
Okay. And maybe a last one. Why always challenge the customer on points that are important to them? Sometimes it can slow them down and damage the relationship. For example, approvals during a purchase.
So when I say always challenge, of course, use your common sense. The goal is not to ask why at every sentence of the customer, but I would say ask the right question and try to be like curious during the analysis. And if the customer tells you we do it like this, just ask, okay, why do you do it like this? For example, I have other customer working like this. What is important for you in that part of the business? And also try to align the main goal, like why we are changing from one software to Odoo with the request. And sometimes, I don't know, they want specific validation, but they told me that the reason why they're changing from a software to another is because our numbers are bad and our sales team are really not efficient, so our goal is to make the sales team more efficient, for example. So it depends really on the need of the customer, but of course, try to use your common sense, but ask why is really important.
Thank you. I think that will be okay.
Okay. I want to thank you all for being here. Today I'm going to talk to you about the importance of planning and budgeting. We just had a presentation about our methodology. The planning and budgeting is a part of that. So I'm going to focus on that specific part. Okay, don't forget to scan the QR code if you have some questions. So, let me introduce to you Synergy Europe. For those who were here at the previous talk already know about it, but Synergy Europe is a Belgian company that sells and installs solar panels in Belgium and in other neighboring countries. Now the context is that there was a booming demand for renewable energy. There were endless opportunities, so everything was actually going great for Synergy. But if we look behind the scenes, the data were scattered across different tools. Projects were tracked in emails, inventory was tracked in inventory, and all their teams were working, all departments were working a bit with their own tools and had their own way of working. So Synergy decided to do something about it, and they chose for Odoo. And what was supposed to be, so Odoo was supposed to support their growth, but here's the twist. Synergy was really eager and enthusiastic to start with Odoo. They also had quite some problems to solve, so they actually started the implementation with no real planning, with no real budgets, and so what was supposed to be a love story between Odoo and Synergy quickly turned into a story of challenges and a story of lessons learned. Because planning and budgeting are the foundation of a successful implementation. What do I mean by planning and budgeting? I think it's important that we start with the same frame of reference. When I talk about planning, I don't only mean putting deadlines and milestones in a calendar. Obviously, that's part of it. But planning also involves defining the scope. What are we going to implement? What are the processes we're going to implement? And why are we going to implement them? It's also about phasing. Okay, planning involves the phasing. We've seen it with Clara. It's important to phase or to break down your project in different phases. Not always, it depends on what you're going to implement, but I'll come back on that later. Planning also involves assigning responsibilities. Okay, as a consultant, I'm responsible for the success of the project, but that doesn't mean that my client doesn't have responsibilities as well. Inside the company, the key users need to know what they need to do and when they need to do it. So you have to plan for that as well. And planning is also about risk anticipation. Okay, I think a lot of people here have done implementations. We all know that there are some risks, there are some unexpected things happening in projects. So the risk anticipation is really important to involve in your planning. So if I would summarize what planning is for me, it's I think it's making clear for everybody what path they will be walking on before their journey actually starts. Then the budgeting part, obviously when you think about budget, you think about money. So yeah, there's a financial side to it. Okay, what is this going to cost in licenses and in implementation services? But I'm more going to focus on time. Obviously, that time equates to money if you're a company that pays for implementation services. But I'm going to focus on time rather than money. Why? Because that's usually what we mean by budget at Odoo. Okay, we're budgeting how much time is it going to take to, for example, implement phase 1, to implement phase 2, or to do this development. Okay, so it's more about time and resources as well. Freeing up the people who are going to be responsible or who will be part of the implementation. And it's important to understand that planning and budgeting are two sides of the same coin. In general, ideally, I'd say you could start with the planning and then do your budgeting based on the planning. But why do I say they're two sides of the same coin? Imagine you have a plan, but you have no budget. Okay, that's nice. You have a roadmap, but you have nothing to execute it. And if you have a budget, but you don't have a roadmap, then you're actually just wasting resources, right? So they must be aligned in order for you to be able to have a realistic project framework and in order to move on to your implementation. Now let me get back to Synergy. Like I said, their idea was, okay, let's hit the ground running. We have big issues. We want to be live really fast with the whole suite, okay? It's a company that installs solar panels, so basically they had CRM, sales, field service, subscriptions as well for maintenance, accounting. Actually, all the applications that you can imagine, name it, they wanted them, okay? They wanted them fast, and they wanted everything at once. So they actually planned a big bang, what we call a big bang. That means that you go live with all the applications, all the flows at once. They wanted to go fast, so they also said, okay, we're not going to plan the testing periods, we'll plan the tweaks after going live, okay? We'll make adjustments at that time, but now we have to move on. And they also made the assumption that everything would go as planned, that there would be no bumps and issues along the way. So they said, okay, we're going to buy 200 hours of implementation services. That should be enough. Okay, so when you see this or when you hear this, you know that it's actually more of a wish list than a real roadmap with a proper budget. And that's how they started the implementation. Okay, they started the implementation without a proper analysis, no real preparation on the side of the company, and they immediately started with separate workshops between the different teams with a consultant, and they had an idea of, okay, let's advance where we can, let's make progress on this part, and on this part, and on this part. So they made small bits of progress here and there. And then management was also not really involved, the key stakeholders, I mean by that. They didn't monitor the situation and they were on the sideline and just assumed that the project was making progress. Now, if you're a consultant, if you're a partner, even if you're a client, you hear this, these are all big red flags. So, what happened? Okay, first of all, we saw that the workshops were not efficient. Okay, so the teams, the people inside the teams were fighting with each other because they didn't align on how should it work or how does it work now and how should it work. So it turned into fighting sessions. Inconsistent data all across the board. Okay, all the teams were working with their own tools. And that means that the data were sometimes different in one tool than in the other, so they were inconsistent, and it was really tough to get complete data as well. The scope kept getting bigger. That's what I mean by scope creep, because they didn't really prioritize it first. So everything was a priority, and then new corner cases came up. Oh, we have to do that as well. So the scope kept getting bigger. There were some unexpected customizations as well, so unexpected developments, because Odoo couldn't exactly do what Synergy wanted. So they said, okay, we're going to do a small development here, a small development there. The key users who didn't really know what their responsibility was, or that they had to free up time, and when they had to free up time, they were overloaded because they didn't free up time in their agenda. There were absences because people go on vacations, sometimes people are ill. So this all led to an exploding budget. Okay. If we go a bit further down the line, I'm not going to talk about all the phases, but if we go a bit further down the line, Synergy did go live with a few months delay, but the user adoption was at an all-time low because they didn't have proper preparation, because there were still mistakes. And actually the budget had also doubled compared to the initial 200 hours. We were already at 400 hours. So what actually was supposed to support their growth was actually quickly turning into a nightmare. Now, this might sound a bit extreme to you. Okay, but it's not. This is what happens with ERP implementations when you don't address the budget and first the planning and then the budget properly before you start implementing. Because you can have the best tools in the world, you can try to implement Odoo. I think it's a great tool, it's easy to use. You can have the best tool in the world, but if you don't address these things at the start of the implementation, you're definitely going to have issues. Oh, yeah. So, what should Synergy have done? What can we take away from their mistakes? First of all, they should have done, or the consultant should have done, a business analysis with them. What do I mean by a business analysis? At Odoo, that's 1, 2, 3 meetings where we go over, depending on the complexity, where we go over all the processes, all the workflows, who does what in your company, why do they do it that way, so that you get a big view, a macro view of the issues within the company, but that you also have a micro view of how everything works. We do that to identify potential risks, and because once we have done that, then we can start phasing the implementation. Okay, so I'm going to combine also the 2 points, define the scope and phase your implementation. Defining the scope here, well, the company wanted to go live with everything. I think defining the scope here is more like, okay, what is key for you? What do you really need to implement? What are your priorities? Okay, and then based on that, you can start phasing your implementation. Phasing your implementation, that always depends a bit on the size of your project, and how you're going to phase it can depend on the complexity, can depend on the priorities of the client. For example, I'll give an example here at Odoo. Sometimes when we have complex implementations, we know it's a big project, we sometimes try to start with a quick win, okay, to get already some users live. Why? To increase user adoption, and just mentally, if you know it's going to be a big project, it's always good to have that win in your bag. But other times we start with the priorities of the clients. Some clients say, for example, oh, my accounting system is going to expire end of December. If we're at the beginning of December and we have to start a big implementation, probably the first priority then would be implementing the accounting. So it's important through that business analysis to understand what are the priorities and how am I going to phase my project. Then what Synergy also didn't do was assigning responsibilities. If you have key users, it's important for them to know what they have to do, what their responsibility is, and when they have to do it. Because an implementation is not only the responsibility of the client. For example, at Odoo, what I usually always tell the clients I'm working with, the success of this project is a 50-50 responsibility. But if you say that, you also must make clear what the responsibility of the client is, of course. Because if he doesn't know what to test, what to do, when to do it, then you have an issue. Then data preparation, that's always that depends on the project. Data migration from whatever tool to Odoo can be simple, but can also be very tricky. And usually people choose Odoo, or companies choose Odoo to centralize their data, so that data comes from different tools. So it's important, if you don't do it before implementing, to already start thinking about it and already addressing the data, or what are we going to do about data, right? What data do I need in Odoo, and how am I going to extract them from the tools that I currently have? Can I extract them from the tools that I currently have? Is that data consistent with data in other tools? So these are things that you really need to think about, because data migration can, I think all the consultants here know it, can sometimes be a pain in the... So, then also anticipating risks, okay, that's what Synergy didn't do. It's really important, especially when it's a complex implementation, that you create a buffer zone. Because in ERP implementations, even when you do a perfect business analysis, by the way, the perfect business analysis does not exist, but even if you do a good business analysis, there's always things that might come up. So you need to create a buffer zone in order for your planning to be realistic. If you don't create a buffer zone, if you assume that everything is going to go according to plan, there's a high probability that you will have a delay in your implementation. And then, who's going to work with Odoo? In the end, it's the end users, and they, of course, also need some time to adjust. You can, when I say test properly, I could also have written one additional point is change management. It's really important that you put time into onboarding your users on Odoo. Because if you don't do that, the day that they start working with Odoo, they will make mistakes, and it takes way more time to correct mistakes than to address or to train the people at first or before they start working with Odoo. So that's also something that Synergy, they made a big mistake in. Now, when we go to the budgeting part of it, once you have done the planning, you can go to the budgeting part of it. Here I said Synergy bought a pack of 200 hours, but they actually had no idea what they were going to spend it on. So it's also the role of the consultant to be really clear, okay, this is my analysis, this is how we're going to phase it, and this is the budget or the time that we're going to allocate to each separate phase. You can go, depending on the complexity of the project, you can even go further. You can say, I'm not going to budget only the phases, I'm really going to budget individual tasks. Or if you identify a development, for example, during your business analysis, I'm going to budget that development. So it's important to assign the time to the different things that you're going to do. And then afterwards, of course, as a consultant or as a partner, you're going to timesheet on it. It's important for the company and yourself also to monitor the time versus the budget. Why? Because you might have, for example, for a first phase, have budgeted 50 hours, and after 30 hours you see, damn, we're not going to get there because there's too many questions from here and there. So it allows you also to adjust, to readjust, and to have a discussion with your customer like, okay, this is where we're at, we're not going to get into the budget, what do we do? And that's also a key takeaway I want to talk about today, or I want you guys to get from today, is that planning and budgeting aren't one-off exercises. Yes, you have to do them at the beginning of the implementation, but like I said, everything in a project can evolve, there might be changes necessary, so it's important to review them frequently and to adjust them if necessary. If you take a big project with a big scope like Synergy, what they should have done is, for example, create a steering committee with key stakeholders, I don't know, every Monday or every 2 Mondays, but to at least have a view like, okay, where are we in terms of planning? Are we on track? Where are we in terms of budgeting? And where do we have to intervene if necessary? Now, obviously, you can also use Odoo to keep your planning and budget and execution aligned. You're going to see that in the talk this afternoon, exactly how we do that at Odoo, because we use the project application and also the timesheets to keep track, well, first of all, to phase our projects, but also to keep track of the budget that we allocate to these different phases. Now, to conclude for today, if you're planning on working, or if you're planning on starting a project implementation anytime soon, ask yourself the right questions. First of all, do I know what I'm going to do and when I'm going to do it and how I'm going to do it? And secondly, do I also know what time and what resources I'm going to spend on each of these tasks? If your answer to 1 or 2 of these questions is no, then you should review it and address it before you start your implementation. If they're yes, then you can start implementing and having fun. Thank you. Okay. Ah merde, c'est pas celui-là. Attends, c'est celui du début. Hein. C'est celui-là, ouais. Ouais, c'était un test que j'ai fait hier. So right now there's a weird situation. There's no questions in the pad. So was I too clear? It was excellent. Yeah. Do you guys have any questions?
Apparently not.
Okay, then I want to thank you all for coming and enjoy the rest of your day. See you guys.
Thank you.